You are easily the richest man in this tavern, but if you accidentally touch the bartender's hand, he'll slide a knife across your throat. You're wearing tailored wool. Your pockets are heavy with silver coins. Yet, the moment you sat down, the entire room went dead silent. The laughter stopped. Men grabbed their drinks and shuffled to the opposite side of the room. The tavern keeper won't take your money directly. He demands you drop it into a bucket of vinegar to wash off your touch. When you finish your ale, he's going to take your wooden cup out back, smash it with an axe, and burn the splinters. You aren't a plague victim. You aren't a leper. You are the official executioner of the city. Society desperately wants law and order. They absolutely need you to do their dirty work. But because you actually carry out the bloodbath, they view you as a literal monster. You are a vital pillar of the state, yet legally dead to the world, and your journey through this isolation starts at the absolute bottom. Level 1. The Apprentice. You're 14 years old, sitting on a 3-legged stool in a house built right next to the city gallows. Your pockets are completely empty. Your hands are raw from scrubbing dried blood off wooden planks. You didn't apply for this job. You didn't have a choice. Your father is the city executioner. Therefore, by royal decree, you are the next executioner. It's a hereditary curse. If you try to run away and become a baker or a blacksmith, the local guilds will violently reject you. You carry a legal stain on your bloodline. You spend your days doing the grunt work nobody else will touch. Burning the clothing of plague victims. Dragging suicide corpses to unmarked ditches. Moving the heavy timber for the next day's spectacle. People think execution is just mindless hacking, but it's actually a high-stakes technical craft. Therefore, your father forces you to practice for hours every single morning. You don't get to touch a real blade yet. You use a wooden trainer. You chop cabbages balanced on posts until your shoulders scream. You practice slicing through dead pigs to learn exactly how the blade feels when it hits bone. You get zero respect, zero money, and a front row seat to humanity's absolute worst days. But you're learning. You're learning how to look a screaming man in the eye without blinking. Level 2, the dungeon assistant. You're 18 now. You've proven your hands don't shake when things get bloody. They move you underground. Before a criminal ever steps onto the public scaffold, they come to your basement. Your job here isn't to kill them. Not yet. Your job is to extract a legal confession. The courts cannot execute someone without a signed admission of guilt. Therefore, you become a student of the mechanics of human agony. You operate the shadow theatre. You learn the exact tolerance of the thumbscrews, turning the iron crank just enough to crush bone without causing the target to pass out from the pain. You learn how to use the strappado, hoisting a man toward the stone ceiling by his wrists, tied behind his back until his shoulders violently pop out of their sockets. You are the shadow before the storm. The townspeople never see your face down here, but they hear the screams echoing up through the street grates. The city council pays you a tiny stipend per successful confession. It's enough to buy a decent pair of boots, but you're still a social ghost. If you walk down the street, people physically press themselves against the stone walls to avoid brushing your sleeve. Touch a piece of fruit at the market. You just bought it. Nobody else will touch it now. You are banned from entering public baths, banned from normal taverns, and banned from giving testimony in a court of law. Your touch is considered a spiritual poison. Level 3. The common hangman. You finally pass the apprentice trials, therefore you get your own black hood. You are officially on the city payroll. Your daily routine is the gallows. Hanging is the blue-collar tier of medieval execution, reserved for the commoners, the pickpockets, the highwaymen, the peasants who stole a sheep to feed their starving families. On paper, it looks simple. You loop a rope around a neck and pull a lever, but in reality it's a logistical nightmare. If the rope is too long, The momentum of the drop breaks the neck too violently and pops the head clean off. The crowd hates that. It looks sloppy. But if the rope is too short, the man just hangs there, slowly suffocating, violently kicking his legs for 20 minutes. When that happens, the crowd starts throwing rocks at you. Therefore, you have to perform the most humiliating task in the profession. You have to climb onto the swinging, dying man's shoulders, wrap your legs around his torso, and use your own body weight to snap his neck while the crowd jeers. You get paid per rope. You're starting to build a real savings account, but your domestic life is completely dead. You can't marry a local girl because her family would face absolute social ruin. Therefore, you look to the underground executioner network. You marry the daughter of the hangman from the neighboring province. It's a closed, dark dynasty of outcasts. Level 4. The Master of the Wheel. You've earned the magistrate's trust by keeping the gallows efficient. Therefore, they upgrade you to the heavy iron. The wheel is reserved for the most hated criminals. Murderers, rapists, and traitors. This is pure, brutal public entertainment. You tie a live man to a massive wooden cartwheel, spreading his limbs flat along the spokes. Then you take a heavy iron bar. Your instructions are hyper-specific. You must systematically shatter his arms and legs, hitting the bone precisely between the joints. But here is the catch. If you strike too hard and rupture a major artery, the man bleeds out on the spot. You fail the sentence. The crowd feels cheated of their long afternoon show. Therefore, you have to calculate the exact physics of every single strike. You shatter the bones, wrap his limp limbs through the wood like a rag doll, and hoist the wheel up on a tall pole. The man stays alive for days while the crows pick at his eyes. You get a massive financial bonus for a successful wheel execution. You buy a large, comfortable house outside the city walls. You eat meat every single day while the peasants live on turnip soup. You are becoming a wealthy man surrounded by a wall of absolute silence. Level 5. The Royal Swordsman. You have reached the absolute peak of the execution hierarchy. Decapitation by the blade. This is an elite privilege reserved exclusively for the nobility. No ropes, no wheels, just a fast, honourable death. But the pressure is completely suffocating. The nobleman doesn't lay his neck across a wooden block. He kneels completely upright, praying. You must swing a massive two-handed executioner's sword, horizontally, slicing clean through the neck in one perfect fluid motion. If you hit the collarbone, the blade jams. If you hit too high, you take off the jaw. If you mess up, the crowd will storm the platform and beat you to death right next to the corpse. More than one master has died this way. Therefore, before a royal execution, the anxiety is so violent you spend the morning vomiting into a bucket. You chug cheap wine just to stop your hands from trembling. You take your stance, you swing. The head rolls, the crowd roars. You just made more money in 3 seconds than a regular farmer makes in 5 years.